The following program is being brought to you on the Seventh Wave Network. For more information about our network and to check our additional show hosts and topics of interest, please visit seventhwavenetwork.com. The Voice America Talk Radio Network is the worldwide leader in live Internet talk radio. Visit voiceamerica.com. The views and ideas expressed on the following program are strictly those of the host or guests and do not necessarily reflect the views and ideas held by the Voice America Talk Radio Network, its staff, and management.
Welcome to Empowering Your Soul with Lisa Ouellet. If you're ready to make personal changes in your life and the lives of those around you, get ready for an hour of encouragement, enlightened guests, and engaging stories. Now, here is your host, Lisa Ouellet.
Welcome to Empowering Your Soul. I'm your host, Lisa Ouellet. Today, I'm happy to have with me my good friend, Karissa Dorman. She's a medium, and she is an energy worker. Karissa is able to talk to the deceased. She does mediumship, and she's going to be here with us today sharing some information about just exactly how mediumship works. So welcome to the show, Karissa.
Thanks so much for having me, Lisa.
Oh, it's very, very exciting to have you on here today. I know that we're going to have a lot to talk about, and again, I'm going to hope that we're going to get to it all. I did want to start by asking if there was something specific that you wanted to share, that specific about mediumship that you wanted to share with anybody.
Just that I am so grateful to be able to do mediumship, and it's definitely what I am most passionate about. I enjoy other readings as well, doing psychic work with people, working with people's guides, but I'm certainly most passionate about mediumship.
Excellent. And I know that to be a fact as well, too. One of the things that we're going to talk about on today's show is the differences between psychics and mediums. And I find that to be the thing that I like about, that I really enjoy about working with you is that we're similar, but we're very different, too. We're both psychic mediums, but you really enjoy the mediumship aspect of it, even though you have psychic ability. And I really enjoy the psychic aspect of it, even though I have mediumship ability, which allows us to do events together and really work well together as a team, because we can do group, not group events, but we can do events where we can work with one aspect that we're most favorable to. Is that correct?
Absolutely. Yes, it makes for a good time.
Yeah, definitely. I like how, too, one of the things that I know that you've said in the past, you say it's with great pride that you strive to live a life of service to spirit through mediumship, and it brings comfort and hope to, and peace to the people, comfort, hope, and peace about the afterlife. So I really like that. That's how you explain things. Yeah.
Well, thanks. Yeah, I mean, as my job as a medium really is just to be a tool, to be a voice for the deceased, and to just carry their messages over, but hoping that those messages do come with peace about the afterlife and understanding, and hopefully to dissipate fear that we all, as the living, often have about death.
Absolutely. Yeah. I know we're going to talk about that later on in the show in a little bit more depth too. I would like to just start here with just sharing a little bit about the differences of psychics and mediums. I know people are listening in may or may not know what the difference are. People that are not familiar with the metaphysical or paranormal world might just think that it's the same thing. But in my opinion, I'm going to give my opinion, and then you jump in and share what, if there's something different that you believe. The way I see psychics let me start over. The way I see psychics and mediums as different are psychics, in my opinion, and this is where I really get a better vibe for myself. We're more clear. No, I shouldn't say more. I feel like I'm able to use my clairvoyance more. I can use a deck of cards, or I can use tools as well, but I'm typically answering questions and offering advice about future events. Sometimes you can see the past, the present, or the future, but it's typically offering advice to clients about, health, money, or love, or whatever. And whereas for me, mediumship, I believe that where it differs is that you're talking to someone's loved one on the other side, you're communicating with the deceased, and you're spanning the physical and spiritual worlds that way. Do you see it the same, or do you see it differently?
No, I see it the same, and I use definitely all, I mean, as you're doing your readings, I know you're using all of your clairs too.
Right.
With mediumship, I feel like, versus when I do psychic readings, I feel like I gravitate more towards clairvoyance as well. But when I'm doing mediumship, it does seem to be more evenly spread out between all the different clairs. I have a good friend that describes it as spiritual charades. So it's a little bit of hearing, a little bit of seeing, a little bit of feeling, and just all of them happening at once. And so I definitely think there's a big difference, and the only thing I'm concerned with in a mediumship reading is passing over, as verbatim as possible what the deceased are telling me.
Right. I know that you and I talk on a regular basis. Anyway, we communicate semi-often, as friends and peers. And I know one of the conversations that we've had in the past, if we could share with our audience here, is... I know you found this to be, okay, let me rephrase that. Let me start over. I believe that you have found this to be the case the same as I have. Sometimes what we see for people isn't necessarily what they want to see for themselves. So I know with mediumship too, like you just said, you're giving the voice to the deceased, right? Can you expand a little bit more on that?
Oh, absolutely. As far as different when working with a client, what they're hoping to get out of a session, really a psychic reading is more about the client and what do you want to hear today? What are your goals? Do you want it, like you said, wealth or love or soul purpose? What are we focusing on about you? Your guides are going to come forward, validating, helping expand on anything that you've been thinking about coming up in the future and at the present, sometimes even in the past. Whereas mediumship, I'm there to strictly bring forward whatever the messages are to my client from their deceased loved ones. So they might want to talk about money, and all that client wants to hear about is relationship advice. Well, I'm not concerned with, I don't want to say it's not that I'm concerned with what the client wants, but my job is to make spirit happy when I'm working as a medium and to give them a voice because they're the ones that are lacking. And that's really all I can do.
Right. So when you're doing a reading, if Uncle Joe comes through and wants to tell the person, where they should be moving to for their highest good in the next 3 months, and they wanted to talk about their love life, you kind of got to go with where Uncle Joe's going, right?
You got to take what you get, absolutely. When it's all for your highest and best good, and it takes so much love and energy to for them to come forward on the other side that I just think I ask people to just have an open mind and take for whatever they say with you, because that really is what you're meant to hear that day.
Right. And it's funny too, but not funny. I have sent out to people ahead of time a message saying, if you had any questions, we're going to be doing a psychic medium show. Please write your questions in. If anybody has anything to say, we'd love to be able to answer your questions on the show. I had 2 people write in, and one of the emailers that sent the message into me, her name was Rihanna, and she is from, where is she from? She is from, I can't even read my own handwriting here. She's from Augusta, Maine, and she wants to know, her question to you is, if I'm thinking of studying mediumship, but want to know if the work you do brings you down dealing with grief all the time.
I don't find that it does. I find it to be much more uplifting than it ever is downtrodden, I guess. It's of course, you're dealing with grief and grieving clients and just grieving family members, and of course that part is hard. But the messages always have an uplifting piece to them. They're always coming forward to let their loved ones know that they are okay, or very specific messages that they feel that they need so badly to get this across to their loved ones that they've come forward in a reading. So I leave with a sense of satisfaction and a sense of peace and hope that these clients have taken away what they need to hear, but more importantly, that I've spent the time that I've been given with those deceased and in getting their last and final words over. And so for me, it always leaves on an up note.
Yeah, and that's quite empowering right there too, knowing that you're doing what Spirit needs you to do, right?
Absolutely.
I had another question come in. This one is from Zoe from Seattle, Washington, and she wants to know if when you're doing a session for somebody and you're doing a mediumship session, her question is, do you always get to talk to the person that you intended to talk to? You may have just answered that question, but...
No, I mean, I would say 90% of the time people hear who they're hoping to hear from. I do half-hour sessions and full-hour sessions, so it really depends. Sometimes you'll have one person that will come through and take up that entire hour, or sometimes you'll have 6 or 7 people that will come through and in that time. So it depends, first of all, on how many people you have in a session. However, 90% of the time, you walk away with hearing from who you were hoping for. I can't control who comes forward, though. My job is to pay respect to spirit, and they come to me, one at a time or as a couple at a time.
Right.
And I give my attention to whoever comes first because they're coming first for a reason. So, not always. People don't always hear from who they want to hear from, but most of the time it works out.
So tell us, Karissa, when you're getting ready for a session, how does it work? When you say, do they stand in line for you? How are you doing that? How is that working for you?
I sort of try to get them to pause and hold on when I'm first working with a client as I go through a little bit of my process with the client. And as I start talking already to the clients, they're already starting to talk to me, and I have to say, kind of, hold on, guys, give me a minute. And then I just kind of tell my clients, okay, I'm ready now, and then the first person that I have closest to me and clearest to me is the spirit that I'm going to take first, and basically get some preliminary information about them, some evidence about who they were in this life, maybe how they passed, approximate age ranges, things that they can tell me about themselves to make my client recognize who it is. And so, ideally I get them one at a time because it's easier that way for me to sort of separate the information.
Are you seeing them, or are you hearing them, or are you doing both?
I'm doing both. Yep, okay. I'm seeing, hearing, and even physically feeling like death injuries on my own body, and though they can show me symbols as well, pictures, sometimes even like movies, and hearing their words. And so it's a lot easier. Obviously, that's a lot of information coming to you at once, and it happens very quickly. So it's much easier when I get one at a time. However, they don't, there are no rules over there on the other side. So
right.
So
we know that spirit's world and our world are completely different, right?
Absolutely. So I will get couples that will come forward, or, if you have like a matriarchal figures, like a mother, aunt, and a sister, sometimes they'll come forward together. Just as you would at a Christmas party in life, certain people are going to congregate with others.
Oh, absolutely. No, and that makes sense too. I can understand they come together. They stay once they cross over on the other side, they kind of stay together too. And when one of them comes through, they're thinking, oh, it's an opening. I can bring my whole family with me and, get everybody to talk at once. So that's
absolutely.
Nice. Yeah.
Looking
Perfect.
for any chance they get.
Yeah. They're just as chatty on the other side as they are here.
Absolutely. Personality crosses over. I always tell people that.
It's funny. I say the same thing. And earlier when you were saying spiritual charades, I say the same thing when I'm giving sessions. My hands, and I'm French and Italian, and I got my eyes closed all the time, so my hands are going. I'm like, it's like psychic charades in the back of my mind here. I'm trying to determine what's going on. It's hard sometimes.
Absolutely, yeah. Well, it's just such a higher processing speed when they're communicating to you versus us just verbally communicating with other people.
Do you find that you start to talk faster? Because I know that my speed, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yes, very, very fast, and sometimes even louder, and a lot with my hands as well. And sometimes, definitely mannerisms. I'll take on physical mannerisms, or just even postures of the spirit that I'm talking to, and I'll have people go, oh my gosh, I can't believe you're standing that way, or I can't believe you keep touching this part of your cheek. My uncle always did that. Or I've even been lucky enough to have spirits that were nonverbal in life come forward and show me physical signs that they were able to do. Children that were disabled that couldn't use their words, and they had certain body movements to let their family know that they were happy, and I've been able to pass those same movements onto their family members, and that's
how rewarding. That's very rewarding.
Very rewarding. It's great. It's great evidence and validation for the family members that they are really, truly hearing what they need to hear from their loved one.
Do you find, oh, absolutely. I can only imagine being on the other end of getting a reading, that would be what I would be looking for too, some sort of validation too.
Absolutely. So. It's very important.
We know, right?
Yes.
God, there's so much that I want to talk about here. We're going to talk a little bit more about soul contracts later on, and we're going to talk about, we're going to share some examples. Both you and I are going to talk about letting go and releasing outcomes, because spirit truly does know best. So what I think we're going to do, what I think we're going to do is we're going to cut to a commercial break in just a minute, and then when we come back, we'll talk about. You're going to give some examples. I know we were talking prior to this, and you have a really good example, and I have a really good example that I think that the audience can really relate to. So, what I'd like to do is just stop here for a quick commercial break, and if anybody is just tuning in, please come back after the break. You can get this. You can hear this podcast later on. You can get it off of iTunes. You can listen to my website. You can reach Karissa Dorman for individual readings at karissadorman.com. That's where she's able to be reached at. She offers private individual sessions. She does group events. She does group parties, teaches mediumship classes and gallery events. So we're going to come back and learn a little bit more about her after the commercial break.
The Voice America 7th Wave Channel.
Lisa Ouellet is honored to assist you as you move forward from imprisonment to empowerment. Individual intuitive sessions are available in person, by telephone, or via Skype. Visit www.lisaouellet.com. While there, you can also find information about 1-hour and half-hour Reiki sessions, life coaching, and tuning into your intuition classes. These classes will help you learn to trust your intuition and tune into yourself more easily. Mention that you heard about us on Empowering Your Soul and receive 10% off your next session. Visit lisaouellet.com today.
If you think you've seen online TV before, let us surprise you.
VoiceAmerica.tv is online now.
The leader in live Internet talk radio has done it again. Multiple channels, a state-of-the-art viewing experience, live and on-demand programs streaming 24 hours a day. It's exactly what you want, when you want it.
VoiceAmerica.tv.
From health and wellness to business, sports, and everything in between. Discover our new world. Visit VoiceAmerica.tv now and experience the future of online television.
VoiceAmerica.tv.
The 7th Wave Channel on the Voice America Network.
You are listening to Empowering Your Soul. To reach Lisa Ouellet, you may send an email to lisaouellet@comcast.net. That's lisaouellet@comcast.net. Now, back to Empowering Your Soul.
Welcome back to Empowering Your Soul. I'm your host, Lisa Ouellet. If you're just tuning in now, today I have with me medium Karissa Dorman. And before the commercial break, we were talking about the differences between psychics and mediums. Karissa was sharing with us a little bit about how she connects and how she's talking to spirit, how she's hearing them. What we're going to actually talk about now in this section of the show, we're going to talk about soul contracts and maybe about letting go. In the next 2 segments, we'll talk about that. I did want to ask Karissa, though, prior to going to commercial break, I meant to ask this and I didn't. But Karissa, is there something specific that when you're doing a session where you feel like, I guess, do you work with certain people more than you work with others?
I definitely work with all ranges of people in spirit. However, I certainly have a calling for people that have lost children in spirit, or children in spirit in general. So it just was never my intention to go that way. It just sort of, we're all here for specific reasons, and
right.
Whatever you're here for is going to come to you. And so I just had sort of a larger upswing of children's spirits start to come to me. And as a mother myself, I certainly, my heart is in all of those readings about 1,000%. and I really resonate with them and being able to give their messages to their parents. I just think I can't think of any reading that would be more important than to hear from a child that's been crossed over. It
almost sounds like, go ahead, sorry.
Yeah, it's just my life's work, I believe.
I was going to say, it almost sounds like your soul contract.
I believe it is.
Yeah. Excuse me. And so kind of going with that theme, so you work with, so the word would maybe be you work with bereavement groups, is that correct?
I've worked with bereavement groups, just parents and grandparents that have lost children, and in all ranges, really, in sisters and brothers, of course, as well, but it just all ranges of children in spirit, even adults in spirit,
right.
who have predeceased their parents. So.
And that's the difference between psychics and mediums, again, or doing the psychic readings and mediumship readings. When I'm connecting through, when I'm not doing mediumship session, when I'm doing a psychic session, I'm talking to angels and guides and I'm giving information about future events. You're talking to, you're dealing with the emotion that comes with it too, because a lot of times you're dealing with like you just said, a parent that's lost a child or a child that's lost a parent or something. And that can be, that must make for an emotional session.
Absolutely, it does. It does. And I think being a mother myself helps me process those emotions a little bit more. You'd be surprised. There's a large concentration of mediums that are not parents, and that's fine.
Right.
I know that they do an incredible job as well and do it justice, but I feel like having that special connection and being able to understand children the way that I do and understand my own it helps me deal with the intensity of the emotions that come forward as well.
Right. And I know that you and I, at one point last year, we were going to do this and our schedules did not allow it to happen. But we were going to put together a psychic/mediumship class for preteens or maybe kids ages 8 to 13, I think it was, right? And just to kind of teach these kids coming in, the preteens, about their own gifts that they're coming into, because they're coming into this world and they're not really sure how to deal with it. Is that something that, besides that session that we were going to do you find that you have kids coming to you or with their parents, coming to you and not having to know how to deal with their gifts?
Absolutely. There seems to be, and again, on the age that we're in now, there's a large influx of teens and preteens right now dealing with a lot of symptoms of empathy, of having connection to spirit and not being able to understand what's happening to them. Why do they know things that haven't happened yet? Why do they feel drained at school and things like that? So I work a lot with teens and preteens in sort of trying to control and deal with being an empath, which is, perceiving other people's energy and not really having a lot of energetic boundaries. And, the mediumship piece and the psychic piece and those kids are there and, working with them to give them the most basic boundaries and tools. It's going to help them for the rest of their lives.
Absolutely. I would agree with that 100%. Yep. All right. Well, let me ask you this. Let me just start with this. We're going to talk about soul contracts now, and kind of, I think it's going to encompass into soul contracts and letting go. I think in releasing outcomes. To me, it kind of all goes together. So we're just going to kind of see where this flows. But a soul contract, in my opinion, is, I guess first of all, you'd have to believe in reincarnation, I guess, to believe in soul contracts. So for anybody out there that doesn't believe in reincarnation, I don't know what your take on this is, but my understanding of what a soul contract is that before we incarnate, we kind of choose the life that we're going to live. We kind of have a, how would you say it? I guess each lifetime we agree before we're going to be born to take on a specific learning task, and they might call that assignment giving us a soul contract or a blueprint or a life plan, but each individual has their own plan, and my understanding is that we forget them before we're born, because if we don't forget them before we're born, we'd be coming into this world and knowing exactly where we're supposed to go, and I think part of our life lesson in living our soul contract is experiencing soul growth, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah. Do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, generally what I hear from Spirit on the other side when they bring up soul contracts in a reading is right along the same lines, just that we are all certainly born with them, and that generally we will reincarnate with soul groups, which is a group of other souls that we've had lifetimes with before, that we all have, separate contracts with them over what lessons we're going to work on in this next coming lifetime that we decide to go in with them on. we all come in together, and we all play different parts in each lifetime to all help progress each other in each role and each lesson that we decide to sign up for.
So that being said, our soul contract determines what situations are brought to us, but not exactly how we're going to respond to them. Like, we all have free will. So
Absolutely.
as we grow in learning about ourselves, I guess that would be a good reason, and why a reason why a lot of people come in and get psychic and mediumship readings, because they're at that point in their life where they're really not sure what to do. They're at that crossroads of the soul contract that lets you know, okay, you can go right or left, and, A or B makes a decision one way or the other, right?
Absolutely. And it's so hard to see your way out of the forest when there's the clearing ahead of you, but you're thick in the middle of the woods. And so I think a lot of the times people will come in going, oh, why do I keep getting myself stuck in this situation, or I keep meeting guys like this? And that's, to me, when you have a repeated behavioral pattern, that's always a symptom of a soul lesson. And
right.
Having that reading can just really help you extract the lesson there and say, oh, yeah, well, you might keep getting yourself into these situations, but you keep responding the same way, or you're trying to tune it differently, but overall you're sending out the same message energetically without even realizing. And readings
vibrational.
Exactly. And readings can help point you in the direction to really change that pattern so that you can make sure that you have the opportunity to change and learn that lesson here in this lifetime, so you don't have to repeat it, and you can go home to your life review and, get an A+ and
absolutely.
feel accomplished.
Well, I don't know if you've read Sacred Contracts by Carolyn Myss. That's such an amazing book, and I also have it on CD, and I listen to it all the time. She basically states it, the way I understand from reading that is, like I said, we're kind of up in the school, let's just imagine we're up in a school, and we're all sitting around and we say, okay, I want to learn this lesson. And then you say, okay, well, the lesson I want to learn is patience. Okay, well, in one particular lesson, who's gonna teach me that? And this soul raises his hand and goes, oh, okay, I'm gonna teach you patience. I'm gonna be your whatever. I'm gonna be your parent, and I'm not gonna give you the attention that you need. And another person says, okay, well, I'm gonna come into your life at age 22, and I'm gonna be your husband, and I'm not going to do this for you. And another soul raises her hand and says, oh, I want to be your child, and I'm gonna give you this lesson, in 25 years from now, blah blah blah. So you all incarnate together, and you have that soul growth with each other. So you come down into this world and you learn the lessons and you experience and you do day by day, and you think to yourself, oh my God, this person is such a pain in my butt. Like, I cannot stand this person. They're the hardest person in the world to get along with. And basically what we don't realize sometimes is that person on a soul level loves us the most, because they're giving us so much growth and so much challenge, and they're the one that, offered to play the part of the pain in the butt just so that they could give us that much growth, Yeah,
it takes a lot of love to sign up for the hardest task. So,
it's true.
Absolutely.
True.
Even though we might not be feeling that way in the lifetime that we're experiencing their pain in the buttness, but, the love is always there underneath.
Right. So there's no such thing as coincidence. Would you agree with that statement?
I would. I believe in synchronicity, and that's everything is at the right time in the right place for the right reason.
So every person that we come across in our life is meant to be the person that we come across at that time. And every challenge and every adversity we experience, we are meant to go through it for some reason. There's a lesson in it. So even if it's frustrating and challenging, we're getting the most soul growth from that, right?
Absolutely. Yep, absolutely. Yeah. However painful it might be at the time.
and we can speak from experience. Some of those stories are quite painful, right?
That's right. That's right. But you always learn the most from them.
Do you find that you've dealt with some people in your life? I know we're going to talk about letting go a little bit, but can you share some examples of maybe some soul, some people that come to you for readings that have experienced a soul growth, or something that's empowered you, like a way a reading might have given you a good or a bad feeling,
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I mean, I the range of all the different stories.
Is there one that
feelings.
sticks out in your mind, I guess?
Yeah, it's incredible. But one, as we're talking about soul contracts, and, I don't know, I guess, I don't know if it's a as a parent, working with a lot of children that have crossed over, or, having those soul contracts with your children, of course, we're always worrying. We're always, trying to nail down what the best thing is for our kids. And as a parent, we have our own ideas of what's most important for them, like fixating on sending them to the right school or making sure they get those music lessons or whatever that we think is most important for their growth, their soul growth. But I definitely see in my readings that sometimes it's the opposite of what we think. And I had one of my most cherished and favorite readings is I had a boy that had crossed over as a child in spirit, and his parents had come in for their very first reading, and he flashed to me just the most beautiful memory of him, about an 8 to 10-year-old child, laying down in bed at night, and he had gone through this phase. He was telling me all about this phase, about how he just couldn't fall asleep on his own. And he showed me, as he had turned to his dad to give his message to his dad, he had been really connected to Mom. So he'd spent a lot of time talking to Mom. And his dad was a little bit more quiet. He had turned to his father and said to him that some of the most important, most cherished moments and memories of the lifetime that he had just departed from were going through this phase when his dad would just sit on the floor next to his bed, extending his arm upwards and just holding his son's hand in bed until his son finally fell asleep, because he just needed that connection, those moments, and I'm, as a parent of a child like that, I definitely have my moments of getting frustrated where I'm saying, all right, I've laid down with you for 45 minutes, okay, go to sleep, but instead of all the schools and all the other sports equipment or whatever that has been put in, what mattered most to that child after he crossed over was just those peaceful moments of his dad truly giving his soul what he needed.
How amazing, and what an amazing experience for that parent to go through, I'm sure.
It was a great validation to know
what
that
a
he
message,
really,
yeah.
And just that his message was thanks for being such an amazing dad. Those were the things that mattered the most to him.
That's fantastic, and wow, for you to be able to, have shared that message. That's crazy. That you were able to be part of it. Talk about empowerment. That's what empowerment really is.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And it's, never mind the fact that I get to love what I do, because I get to carry those messages across to the people that need them here the most in their life, but that I get to extract things out of them for myself. As a parent, I find that very moving and empowering for myself as a mom.
Yeah.
To go home and snuggle my kids an extra hour and not mind.
Yeah.
Say that dishes can wait.
Exactly. I know sometimes we have to put our life into perspective a little bit. I know that I don't know that mine is quite the same, but I do feel like a lot of times people come to you with certain experiences that you're going through. So, you could relate to that child and that parent-child situation because you have a small child at home. And I think for me, some of the stories that resonate the most with me are ones that, as I'm going through my day-to-day life, when I'm working through a particular lesson, I guess, for lack of a better word, and I find all of a sudden that I start to attract those like-minded individuals. I'll get new clients that call up, like 3 or 4 in a row, that will all be experiencing the same exact thing that I'm going through, and I find that just incredible how spirit works. So as I'm giving the message to the client, as I'm imparting wisdom and advice about how they can move forward in their life while being stuck, I'm hearing, okay, Lisa, that applies to you too,
Absolutely.
It's like that's such a fantastic feeling to know, like, okay, and when you see that aha moment happen in their eyes, like they get it. They're like, oh my God, like I so needed to hear that, and that's so rewarding too, to know that clearly that is important for them to be able to need to know. I have found recently that a few of the clients, I've been getting a lot more feedback lately, so I don't know, what's going on globally or galactically or however you want to say it, but I find that a lot of clients are coming to me 6-7 months later and saying, oh my goodness, what you just said to me, I couldn't see it at the time, but it just exactly happened, just as you said, and wow, did it really free me up to move forward? So that's amazing too. I love to hear stories like that. So if you have any stories that for Karissa or I, either one of us have given you any readings and you want to share. The thing for me about mediumship is you know that you can validate right then and there. With psychic readings, sometimes it's not quite as easy to validate. You have to wait to hear back from people. But we're gonna stop here for a quick break, and we're gonna take a commercial. And when we come back, we're gonna talk about letting go and releasing outcomes and letting spirit just work the way it's supposed to work. So stay tuned. We'll be right back.
The Voice America 7th Wave Channel.
Lisa Ouellet is honored to assist you as you move forward from imprisonment to empowerment. Individual intuitive sessions are available in person, by telephone, or via Skype. Visit www.lisawillette.com. While there, you can also find information about 1 hour and half-hour Reiki sessions, life coaching, and tuning into your intuition classes. These classes will help you learn to trust your intuition and tune into yourself more easily. Mention that you heard about us on Empowering Your Soul and receive 10% off your next session. Visit lisawillette.com today.
If you think you've seen online TV before, let us surprise you.
VoiceAmerica.tv is online now.
The leader in live Internet talk radio has done it again. Multiple channels, a state-of-the-art viewing experience, live and on-demand programs streaming 24 hours a day. It's exactly what you want, when you want it.
VoiceAmerica.tv.
From health and wellness to business, sports, and everything in between. Discover our new world. Visit VoiceAmerica.tv now and experience the future of online television.
VoiceAmerica.tv.
The 7th Wave Channel on the Voice America Network.
You are listening to Empowering Your Soul. To reach Lisa Ouellet, you may send an email to lisawillette@comcast.net. That's lisawillette@comcast.net. Now, back to Empowering Your Soul.
Welcome back to Empowering Your Soul. I'm Lisa Ouellet, and today I have with me Karissa Dorman. She's a medium, and we are talking spiritual today. We're talking about the other side, life on the other side, the differences between psychics and mediums, and we've talked about all kinds of things today. How to receive messages and soul contracts. We were just talking about that. Now I want to touch base on a topic that's really near and dear to my heart. It's about letting go and releasing outcomes because spirit knows best. Boy, this has been a tough lesson for me to learn as I move forward in my journey. But I feel, yeah, you too, right? I feel like this is something that a lot of people struggle with. So I really think it's important to talk about. So I know you and I are going to share some examples too. So give people some ideas about how this has worked for us. But
we've got plenty of them.
Yeah, I know. There's so many. I'm like, which one should I share? There are so many stories. The letting go is hard, but and I guess really what it boils down to is having faith. It's not just, it's letting go, but it's letting go to a higher power, not just letting go to whatever happens. It's letting go because God, Spirit, the universe, whoever you pray to or believe in, sees the bigger picture, knows where they're going to get you and knows how to get you there. So not only should you just release the outcome, but you should release it into the hands of somebody who's going to make a situation better for you, right?
Yeah, and I definitely find, and I'm sure you can relate to this, that it's a lifetime lesson. It's one of those things where I will feel like I totally embrace it, and I'll be living in that moment, knowing absolutely I'm being taken care of, and then again, 3 months later, something will come up, and I'll struggle back against it, but always coming back to that same lesson. When you go through those difficult periods of struggle, we always come back to have faith, and like you're saying, let it go, and we finally let go of our own stress.
Do we?
Yeah, well, for short periods of time until we get caught up again, right?
So you get my midnight text at my text at midnight. Oh my God.
Yeah.
No, I know we were talking. What's that?
I've had my fair share too.
Yeah. I know we were talking prior to the show too, how we were going to share with the audience how, even though we're both psychic and medium, that's not to say that both of us don't need our fair share of advice from other people and from psychics or mediums, right?
Absolutely, yeah. We definitely need to fine tune things, and I know when you read, Lisa, you can get such specific information as far as with your psychic readings. You're really good at being able to predict exact moments in the future. I mean, you've blown me away with many stories of exact days of engagements, all those big life happenings.
My guides are good.
Yeah, you get to that nitty gritty, which is fantastic. But I mean, for myself, I can't do that, and I know for you, even there's just different things that we need to shed light on each other.
Right.
Because it's just not the same when we're trying to do it for ourselves.
Right. And I struggle with the mediumship aspect, although I do have mediumship ability. And when I'm reading people, sometimes mediumship comes through. Like, I know one of the stories we're going to share is the story about your house. We're going to share that. And that had a little bit of my mediumship ability in that when I was reading for your husband. But I know for you, mediumship, your strength, you're so quick and you're so accurate and you're so amazing with it. That's where I struggle with that's where I struggle sometimes, and I need that reading or that confidence there as well. But I mean, not to say that neither one of us are not good at what we do. It's just that we both have different strengths and different weaknesses.
Absolutely. Just like I like to knock down your door to get that date. Please tell me when this is going to happen.
Well, let's share that. Let's start with that. I don't want to run out of time. So let's share the story about letting go. Let's tell the story about your house.
Well, actually, it was really you who I was just talking back and forth about how badly we wanted to purchase our first home, and we were, I was just so frustrated with renting the house that we rent now, and so you encouraged me, say, you know what, just try it and go for it. So we did everything we needed to do. Sure enough, we had the go, and we were ready to purchase a home, and we had one after the other seen these houses, and I think we had, two solid offers that we put on these two houses that we absolutely loved, and they were just,
they fell through.
The carpet pulled out right out from under our feet. Yeah. As soon as we'd settled on something, it didn't go through. So I was definitely getting really frustrated with the entire experience, and you had come over one night, and because like we said, we were great friends, and my husband, for his birthday, I said, here, Lisa will read you, because I can't read my husband, just like we're talking about not being able to really read ourselves. I don't want to touch anything going on with my husband. He has to have an unbiased opinion.
Sure.
So that's where you came in, and he was lucky enough to have my grandfather, who is on the other side, come forward for him, and telling him a little bit about, I remember exactly what he was saying, right? That not to worry, that he was going to send us signs.
Yeah, he was going to send him signs, right?
He was going to send David, my husband, signs and point him in the right direction. That the right one hadn't come along yet. However, to our chagrin, and frustration, but to just keep looking. Right. And sure enough, my husband had a dream, I think only a few days later. Yeah, it was only about 4 or 5 days after that
While
reading.
He was out of town, or right before he went out of town, right?
It was right before he went out of town. He had a dream that my grandfather came to him and said, or had showed him the dream, saying when he was out of town, I was going to call him and say, oh, look, I was looking at houses without you, and I'm going to decide to put an offer on one. And sure enough, in the dream, the offer got accepted, and without my husband ever seeing the house, and and he was fine with it. And of course, he doesn't tell me this dream until a little bit later. A few days later, he tells me the dream right before he leaves, and I said, "Oh, honey, I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't look at houses without you. I wouldn't do that." Right. And so he takes off. It's halfway across the country, and I had seen this one house come up that had my grandmother's name. Grandmother is crossed over as well, and very, very close, dear relationship with my grandparents. So her name was the name of the street. Yeah. And I just said, okay, I have to see this house. I just felt compelled. I knew I had to go. And my guys
talk about signs, right?
Exactly. And hey, I can be a thick-headed medium. And so my guys are hitting me over the head with all this stuff, too, telling me, go, go, go. So, of course, I go. And sure enough, I love the house. And it was such a great deal. I knew it was going to go fast. And so I called him up and I said, hey, honey, remember that dream you had? I'm here at the house. I found it, and I love it. You're going to be, and he was definitely nervous, and I just had to keep saying to him, how did you feel in the dream? He said, well, in the dream I was okay with it. And I said, well, let's just go off that.
Yeah, right?
And so, sure enough, we have purchased that house, and thank God he loved it when he finally got to see it. And so, definitely, once I let go and released that and knew that, Spirit was going to lead me in the right direction, lucky enough that my own loved ones were helping me along this process.
Right. You were very fortunate because your grandfather and your grandmother were working in conjunction on the other side to help you get the house that was the perfect one for you. And they used me as a tool and a conduit and, also your own ability to hear and see. And they gave you the message to go to, look at that house and see that street and whatever. So absolutely, Karissa, I'm so proud of you for letting go and moving on with that. That's awesome. So now you got what you wanted out of it. So
absolutely. Now we have a house that we both absolutely love, and it's the first one we really had seen with everything on our wish list too. So definitely we just needed to hold out for where my grandfather was leading us.
Yeah. Sometimes they do know best. We question, but sometimes I think they do. I have a similar story. For those of you who know my kind of background story a little bit, I was at a job for 20 plus years, and it wasn't the job for me. It was an administrative job, and it was just, my passion lies in metaphysical, and my passion lies in the work that I do now full time. And I had been doing this on the side part time for a long time, and my goal and my dream was to ultimately open my own business and work for myself and not work for a large company and, doing what I was good at, but not what I love to do. So, I had been hearing for a long time that, I was going to do what I needed to do, but I had that fear holding me back, and I wasn't quite ready to let go of it yet. And so eventually, I'm not sure exactly how it happened, I started getting a lot of signs as well, too, and I started working with a soul purpose career coach probably sometime, I think it was probably the very end of September last year, and within I want to say less than 2 weeks of working with her, and I think it was the fact that I took that step and that I was really willing to let go and release the fear and let Spirit take over. Within 2 weeks of manifesting my desire, manifesting what I want, letting go of the outcome, I was able to let go of that job, or I allowed Spirit to have that job let go of me, in the way that I wanted, in the way that was beneficial to me. And again, that was a huge lesson for me because I had such a hard time letting go of stability, security, things that I was so accustomed to into the world of, you're on your own and you're doing what you're doing. Even though you're doing what you love, it's not what you're used to and it's not what's comfortable to you. So
absolutely.
It was a huge lesson as well for me as far as letting go and releasing outcomes. But I want to say, just as in your instance, in your outcome, Spirit certainly does know best because I couldn't be happier. I get up every day, get to do what I love to do. Opportunity is, every time I turn around, there's an opportunity knocking at my door. I just feel so blessed and so excited that as soon as I let go to a particular preconceived outcome, as soon as I release it, Spirit shows me something better. And it's something that I couldn't even envision or imagine before. Do you find that to be the case for you as well, too?
Yeah, definitely. And what always strikes me as just amazing is how quickly they can respond to us. We can sit and struggle for years, and then as soon as we finally release that, like you're saying, within 2 weeks, mine was within a week too. It can be within days that we finally get that response that we were looking for all this time, and we just really just had to let go of our own timing so that they could actually respond to us.
I think a lot of it too is shifting our thought process, and maybe it's shifting vibration. I'm not quite sure what it is. When you're in fear mode and when you're in stuck mode, and you want the outcome so bad, you want it to be what you want it, and you can only see one particular way to get there. When you let go and you put it into somebody else's hands, and that they can perceive 6 or 7 different ways to get you to where you are, but you can only just see that tunnel vision, only see that one. That's where it becomes a little tricky sometimes, but I don't know, for lack of a better word, I'm going to use empowerment, because it's so empowering to free yourself from that self-contained prison that we're keeping ourselves in of fear.
Well, right, yeah. Worry only begets worry, and so the only way to get out of that cycle is exactly to let it go.
Right. Yeah. Is there anything else that you'd like to share with the audience? I know we only have a couple minutes left before. See, the time flew. It's always that way.
Always does when we talk.
Yeah. Anything else that you want to share that you find that you think would be of benefit to anybody to hear about what you do, or?
I'm available for private readings. I do readings in office in southern New Hampshire, but I also do phone readings. People are always wondering, how does that work? But spirit shows up on my end. So phone readings to me work exactly the same as if you were sitting right in front of me. And I do a lot of group readings and group parties, and I've got
That's right. You travel a little ways. You're willing to travel like to the Massachusetts area too, right?
I do. I actually travel quite a bit over New England, so I'm all those New England states I'm willing to travel to, and do big family readings or girls' weekends, things like that. I love the group readings, and I do the larger gallery events too, and I do teach mediumship and run some development courses for mediumship development as well.
That's right. And you're going to be coming up soon. You already had a mediumship development group, and you're incorporating another group into it, if that's correct, right?
Yep, absolutely. You're going to be taking over at a center called Living Light in Bedford and running a mediumship group there and a psychic development course as well.
Great. And those are going to be, and if people are interested in hearing about that, they can catch that information on your website, which is KarissaDorman.com.
That's right.
Yep. And do you have any other gallery events planned coming up for the end of the year?
I likely will do one in October. That seems to be, Halloween, good atmosphere. People are always thinking about the other side, and so probably we'll hold another one in October.
For those of you that don't know what a gallery event is, it's like she stands in front of a podium or in front of a large room, and there's usually 50 or more people there, or at least 50 people there, and she goes around. Not everybody gets a reading, but you might be one of the lucky few to get a reading, but you get to hear everybody else's as well, too. So you get to experience the amazing ability that she has as a gifted medium. So.
Well, thanks. Yeah, it's definitely an emotional experience for everybody. Everybody takes something away.
Absolutely. And we're going to be doing some other upcoming events together in the fall as well, too. So stay tuned for both of our websites for more information on that. So, again, you can reach Karissa at her website. And you can also catch her on her Facebook page. She's Karissa Dorman, LLC, on her Facebook page. You can also check out my Facebook page. I'm Lisa Ouellet, LLC, and we would love to hear from you. Any feedback that you want to provide about the show, if you want to get in touch with either one of us for readings, we'd love to have feedback from you. Again, this podcast is going to be available on Facebook. It will be available on iTunes. You can catch it on my website. I'm pretty sure Karissa might have it on her website as well, too. So there'll be lots of places for you. Yeah, lots of places for you to catch this. And next week, I'm going to have with me Kathy Tangney. She's going to be talking about Tong Ren. She's another friend of ours. And that's basically acupuncture without needles. But we're going to hear a little bit more about that. So make sure you tune in next week for that amazing show. And I'm going to thank you again, Karissa, for taking the time to be with us today. And thanks for sharing all your mediumship stories with us.
Thanks for having me.
Have a great weekend, everybody.
Thank you for listening to Empowering Your Soul. Please be sure to join Lisa Ouellet for another engaging program next Friday at 9 a.m. Pacific Time, noon Eastern Time on the Voice America 7th Wave channel. This week, stop feeling imprisoned and start being empowered.
Thanks again for listening to the preceding program brought to you on the 7th Wave Network. For more information about our network and to check out additional show hosts and topics of interest, please visit 7thwavenetwork.com. The Voice America Talk Radio Network is the worldwide leader in live Internet talk radio. Visit voiceamerica.com. The views and ideas expressed on the preceding program are strictly those of the host or guests and do not necessarily reflect the views and ideas held by the Voice America Talk Radio Network, its staff, and management.